Hey everybody, this is John and welcome to the free video. And kind of a quiet, weird day in the markets. You have the NASDAQ for the most part pretty strong, although nothing too exciting from the index perspective. However, there were some nice moves in stocks like Facebook and Amazon and Google, which we'll get to in a second. And then whereas the S&Ps continue to struggle. All right, and if we look at the S&Ps here, you can see it's like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. Now, as we head into tomorrow, we got two things that are all coming together on the same day. First, we've got a new month. All right, so end of the month today, so a little bit of cleanup. And typically the first day of the new month, it's usually not quiet, and either you explode higher or implode, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's just, it just depends on what the funds are doing. But if you didn't know, essentially a lot of fund activity happens the first 3 days of every trading month. So if they got to do redemptions, they do it then. If they got to do buying, they do it then. So that's why you typically get big moves at the beginning of the month. You can see beginning of May, it was kind of a puke. Yet at the beginning of April, it was a big buy. So just expect something big to happen. And then secondly, we've got non-farm payrolls, which essentially is the biggest economic indicator of each month, and it just happens to fall, it's the first Friday of every new month, and this happens to fall on the first day of the month as well, which is unusual. So non-farm payrolls, it's kind of interesting there, because if the payrolls are larger than expected, it's like, okay, the economy is doing well, so that's kind of good for stocks. But then if they're weaker than expected, it's kind of like, oh, well, now maybe they'll cool it off on interest rates, which is kind of good for stocks. So what's been happening is that a lot of the times non-farm payroll tends to be good for stocks. But, again, we'll see for tomorrow. So for tomorrow, how we're positioned is that we've got some positions in Facebook. Facebook here has acted really, really well. We took a lot of chips off of the table today. We'll talk more about this here in a second. Also did a little bit in Amazon, but when it looked like it wasn't going to push through those highs, we just kind of eased out of it. And then from there, just starting to look at some other potential positions for tomorrow. I do like the potential of Google here for a gap up into tomorrow, and see if we can kind of take out this spike high right here at 11.19. All right, so those are some of the three trades that I like for tomorrow. And let's take a look at Facebook. All right, so for Facebook today, had a nice trade here that clocked in $13,000 over the last 2 days, and it actually would have made more had I not turned it into a diagonal. So what happens when you turn it into a diagonal is that you think it may run out of steam a little bit here, so we ended up buying those back before it ran up to $191. So we had long calls, part of it was a diagonal as well as a put credit spread. And then the other trade that we did on this was Amazon. And on Amazon, you can see that I did not cap potential gains. Here it's turned into a $21,000 trade, another $10,000 on the day, by essentially being long calls and then having some put credit spreads to help with the theta decay, which was pretty high. So a couple of things to look at. So first of all, for Amazon, our profit zones are still way up here at 1672. All right, so what we did is we did take some chips off the table today just because the options were getting near expiration. I'm hoping that we can get a little bit of a pullback to buy, but I'm looking for a move to 1672 over the next couple of weeks. All right, now if we go here and I look at Facebook, you can see the reason we took profits here, and I'll zoom right into this, is that you can see that we have slammed into the profit zones, and the profit zones were right at the 1272 extension, which is where we took off the first part of our position, and then at the 1618. So whereas Amazon, the profit targets are still way up here, Facebook, on the other hand, is slamming right into them. And so what I've learned with this tool is that this tells me when to get out. Like, this is when you take your chips off the table. So what I'll show you on these tools real quick, what I like about these tools a lot is that they help you know when to, if you're in a current trade, it's very common when you're in a trade, it's like, okay, Here's your current trade, but then you see a potential new trade over here, so you get out of your potential trade and jump to that new trade when you should have stayed into your current trade, right? Because it's always like that FOMO, that fear of missing out. And so what I found is that these tools help me to stay in the trades I need to stay in, but also telling me when to get out, even if I need to get out sooner than I originally thought. So the first part of this tool, and again, this is just a real shortened version of a longer webinar I did on this, but I'm just going to take 1 minute and go through this real quick. But the first part of the tool that I look at here is that these signals up here, they tell me when to get into a trade. So the other day, the NASDAQ futures were sitting here at support, and as I saw this signal cross to green, I was able to buy the futures. We did this live in the room, and we got the nice clean rally into the close. So that indicator, which is called the EMA cross tool, it allows me to get in at levels without A, catching a falling knife, right? It's not going to blow right through it. It gives me a signal when it's pausing. But B, I get in time. Like a lot of times when you get a confirmation signal, it's too late, like the move's already underway. So that's what I love about that. And then what I like about the profit zones that I was just talking about is the profit zone. So here's the biggest mistake I found that I made, is that anytime I would say like, oh, here's a squeeze and we're going to the 1272 extension and the 1618, I never took into account the concept of what I call profit zones. If the profit zones aren't up there, it ain't gonna make it. So in this case with Adobe, you can see that the profit zones were down here, right? So we rallied up, and instead of a 1272 extension, we actually got a double top. Now, had I known that in advance, it would have saved me a lot of money instead of me getting stopped out. Right? In a situation like this, you know, I'll see the squeeze and I'll get in here. But if I knew in advance that I should get out, you know, at a double top, instead of hoping for a move to the 1272 extension and then to watch it stop me out, that's a huge, huge cost savings there over time. And so I was like, okay, that was a big deal. And then another one here was NVIDIA. NVIDIA, typically a strong stock, and here's a squeeze, but again, instead of getting to the 1272 or the 1618, it actually was shy by $8, but again, because it ran into the profit zones. However, you can see here on Alibaba, here was a squeeze, right? In this case, yeah, it did make it up to the 1272 extension and the 1618 because it was lined up with the profit zone. So that's what those are. That's why we got out of Facebook today, and that's why we're going to, you know, still look for some more upside on Amazon. So I'm going to talk about this in more depth on Saturday, and you can get a copy of these tools as well. And this class will cover on these setups when to buy calls, when to instead do a debit or credit spread. Okay, and when I say buy calls, that also means buy puts if it's a short strategy. When to use a neutral strategy, which time frames work best for trigger confirmations against Carolyn's levels, voodoo lines, points of controls, and pivots. How to use these tools to manage your trade. If you're watching a daily squeeze, what time frame should you be focusing on for the cross? All right, this is hugely powerful here. Not only has this allowed me to get into trades much earlier, but the success ratio has increased by 25%. What are the best time frames for shorter term date futures trades? All right, how to decide when to add or when to bail, and a lot more. So what is this, if this is the first time that you're seeing this? So if you go to, and you have to type this in, simplertrading.com/DPT, that's Dynamic Profit Targets. I am going to teach a strategy class on this Saturday. Now the strategy class is $697. It includes the multi-cross indicator, but if you're a member, it's only, if you're a Simpler Options Gold member, it's only $497. All right, so all you got to do is log in to your membership and then type this link in and you'll get the discount. Now, if you aren't a member, just click here and you can do a $7 trial and save $200. All right, and look, it's a 30-day trial. If you know right away that you don't want to do it, just click it, you know, put your reminder up to cancel it. But for that 30 days, just take advantage of our room, our text alerts, and things like that so you can answer questions. And then the Pro package, which is what most people do with this once they realize, like, okay, these indicators are going to save them a lot of money and potentially make them a lot of money. The Pro version of this is $12.97, but the member price is $8.97. So you get the 4-hour strategy class, how to do all this stuff. You get a copy of the multi-cross indicator, a copy of the dynamic profit zones, and then 3 days of live trading. All right, and for the dates on this, the strategy class is the Saturday, and then the live trading is June 5th through the 7th during market hours. And then don't worry about this one. That's a pretty That's a tool, the deep stats tool. It's not for everyone, and I'm going to explain it more on Saturday. But that's really more for the engineers that really like to dig into that stuff. And I like it, but for most people, you don't need it. Let's see what else. So live trading comes with text alerts, and this is going to be great. I haven't been this excited about some new tools in a long time because this is addressing probably the number one thing I hear is that, man, I wish I could get my exits more consistent, and these are the tools that do that. Anyway, this is going to be an awesome class. Again, it'll be this Saturday. If you have any questions, you can give us a call. I'll be in the room tomorrow. If you have questions there, just hit me up, and we'll see you there.